I don't know about you. I never went to see somebody at school or went on a date in my life and then like called my best friend afterwards and was like, oh man, I had a great contact. Did you know there's about 40,000 new contact center agents getting put in a chair every day? Think about how marginal the line is between feeling connected and creepy.
I think a lot of the contact centers are doing standard personalization. What would you advise that contact centers or connection centers that are struggling with seeing that ROI on AI focus on?
In our business, the data comes first.
Avaya customers sleep well at night knowing that the CEO has a background in security and you're in good hands.
So what are you going to do? Walk in and say to a customer, I want you to throw decades of investment away? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And so instead, that's
the dream.
That would go game changer.
You ready?
I'm so ready to start.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Stone. I'm an analyst and thought leader with the CX Foundation. And I am absolutely thrilled today to be speaking with Patrick Dennis, the CEO of Avaya. We are going to be talking about all things Avaya Infinity today. So we're very excited to be here and can't wait to pick your brain about what's new at Avaya.
Well, thanks for coming. I can't wait to do this. It's going to be fun.
It certainly will be.
Yeah, so welcome to the Avaya Experience Center. It's where we entertain our customers in addition to showing off the product. So couldn't have picked a better place to do this. Super excited.
Yes, it is really beautiful. If you are lucky enough to snag an invite, you should absolutely come check it out. We have Madison Square Garden in the background, so not to be missed for sure. And coffee on tap. So I think I can just go ahead and kick it off here.
Yeah, let's go.
So the first question I have is that I have noticed that Avaya Infinity feels a little bit like a direct response to this maze of disconnected systems and applications that a lot of businesses are stuck with today. And that creates, of course, a fragmented customer experience. So how does Avaya Infinity help solve that problem of fragmented CX? And why are disconnected systems and data silos such a threat to not just customer experience, but business operations at large?
Yeah, it's funny you use the word maze. And if you look through some of the materials, there's actually a maze drawn in them, because I think that's exactly right. It's a very confusing set of systems and infrastructure at most of these companies just to kind of get the right experience in front of a customer. And so, if we kind of go all the way back, when we thought about Avaya Infinity, we kind of stepped back and said, like, contact center has been contact center for a really long time now. And, I don't know about you. I never went to see somebody at school or went on a date in my life and then called my best friend afterwards and was like, oh man, I had a great contact. Right? You want to call and say oh, we had a really good connection. And so we kind of channeled that inspiration for the software to say, hey, we want these companies that have complex system architectures to be able to present a real connection to a customer.
Absolutely.
And so Infinity is a system and a piece of software that's really designed to orchestrate all those things in a relatively seamless way for an agent, because they matter a ton. But also so you can kind of present that, connection in front of a customer that feels special. It doesn't feel like they're stuck in that maze.
Right, absolutely. And I think, to your point, a lot of people think that CX, customer experience, is a buzzword, but really it is about connections.
Yeah.
And I know that Avaya's goal is to help businesses evolve from the contact center, as you said, to a connection center.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that it's really a shift in mindset for these companies. It's not just about changing your software. So what, in your vision and in Avaya Affinity's vision, really separates a contact center from a connection center? I know you spoke about it a bit, wondering if you could expand on that a bit more.
Well, so, Avaya is fortunate to help run some of the biggest brands in the world. And, if you spend a couple of seconds thinking about a brand that you really like personally, and I bet you if I asked you 5 questions about it, sooner or later, it would land at there's a sense of personalization and attachment to that brand that you have. And, you might be willing to go out of your way to make sure you get that brand and whatever it is, or recommend that to a friend. And so, when you think about that, that's to me, when you're really connected with a brand. I was spending some time with a retailer that we would all recognize in the home improvement space. And they have a practice of sending their executives into stores once a quarter So they have their executives go live the store experience. And, that's one example of a killer brand that takes like that extra step to make sure the executives know what it's like to work on a store floor. And then when they come back and they're making decisions about systems or personnel or how the contact center is going to run, it's the stuff that elevates it from contact to connection. Like they're connected with the store experience because they've worked in a store. When we think about the software, we're like, okay, we want to empower brands that are that invested in special connections with customers to have a software that kind of creates a palette for them to design journeys in a way that they can take a customer through the experience the way they want them to go through the experience, and make it feel special and frictionless. And that sounds really, really easy, but it's hard to write software that makes that easy to do.
It absolutely is. And I guess sort of to that point, a lot of customers and businesses are extremely excited about AI. They see the benefits, they understand what it does, and they understand there's a huge ROI. And I think that seduces a lot of executives. But the problem comes when you are transitioning from a virtual agent to a real human agent. Remember those, everybody? They're still around. So how do you make that experience and that transition just as seamless? And how do you leverage AI in the right way so that you're not automating away that empathy and that connection that you just spoke about?
Yeah. So, one of the things that's interesting about AI systems is, and this kind of goes to your prior question a little bit, like one of the things that happens in IT infrastructure is data gets kind of lost, it gets siloed, it's hard to use, it's not normalized. And when we think about AI systems, they really need to have great access to great data, so that they can help make a good decision. So Infinity specifically was designed with a data plane that does a couple of things that are important. There's a section of it that goes really, really fast because latency matters. If I stopped to talk to you like that, right, that's not going to work, right? So latency is a big deal. And then there's a second part of the system where you can collect all the information about these journeys that are orchestrated in one place. You can use that to train the AI systems. And so from my perspective, what Infinity does is it becomes an enabler to do kind of two important things for a company. It's going to give them a way to orchestrate in their investment in AI systems into the customer journey. And then we're going to give you back data about how that journey performed so that you can tune and train the models. It's a fundamentally different approach to how you're going to do that. And that's all kind of with the mindset of getting a better connection with a customer, and the way you're going to do that in part, like to your question, is we're going to help an agent do a better job. So Avaya doesn't believe we're displacing agents at all with AI. We're enhancing, the way an agent can perform with a customer.
That's absolutely true. And also, you're not telling people automate everything.
Nope.
You're providing specific examples of, hey, if you automate this one aspect of your workflow, it is going to improve the customer experience. It's going to save customers time, which we know they love, and they'll be back, which is the most important thing, building loyalty.
What's super cool that you can do when you have an orchestrating layer is, let's just say you've found some new insight you think about customers. You can actually set a journey up to A/B test. So here's the way we do it today. Here's the proposed way to do it. Let's see how it performs.
Amazing.
And then, if you're a customer experience designer, you can kind of just say, okay, I want to promote the new one in once you're confident that it's working for a customer. And I think that's super cool.
And I think too, what I really love about Avaya is that, one, there's no bolt-on AI, right? It's baked into the orchestration layer. So it is a part and flows with everything that you're doing, which makes it, I believe, friendly to companies that may be new to AI.
100%. Well, and AI is changing so fast. We were in this experience center a couple of months ago when DeepSeek dropped, and we were doing a demo for some bankers, and we took the workflow and we just dropped DeepSeek in because, bankers are all like hyped up about DeepSeek. And everybody's like, oh, are you going to like massively change the demo? And we're like, no, there's an orchestration layer. We're just going to put it in. And I think that's representative of what's happening in AI. You wake up every day, and if you're in this space and you care about AI, there's new news and you want to use the new thing, right? So I think companies that too tightly couple the systems together are making a mistake. You want to be able to take advantage of the thing that's like really performing.
Right. Well, and they're not just making a mistake and harming the customer journey. They're also spending
Totally.
way more money than they need to be.
Totally. That's right. And you know, one of the reasons why this data layer is really important is, so let's say you're pulling different AI tools in and out of, you know, the workflows and the journeys over time. You're going to want something like Avaya Infinity to kind of keep track of all the information so that you don't lose it to the prior tool. Which I think is another reason why it's great to have like a very consistent journey and orchestration layer that rides on top of that data fabric. It's pretty neat way to write the software.
Right. No, it's incredible. And with this, you mentioned the rapid pace at which AI is evolving, which is inarguably true. I think I subscribe to 5 AI newsletters and I get updates every day, sometimes twice a day.
Right.
So how does Avaya Infinity help onboard people that maybe they're in the planning phase of using AI, or maybe they're early adopters? So you're helping those people and you're pointing out reasonable and very, let's say, use cases with a very high success rate, like Agent Assist. That's something everybody can use. And then how do you also cater to larger enterprises that are looking to future-proof their contact centers or their customer experience centers or their connection centers?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, so the orchestration layer plays a big role here.
Right.
So, you know, just like take that prior example, you brought up Agent Assist. It's funny, when you think about Agent Assist, that may take on a lot of different forms. Okay, so one, you can orchestrate in different types of Agent Assist into a journey. The other thing you could do at the top of your journey is say, hey, we're going to try out something new. We're going to route some of our best customers to one journey, and we might take another cohort of customers down this different path so we can test it. And so, you know, I think we've all seen in AI, it can hallucinate, it can make mistakes. And so I think that this notion of being able to build tests in is really important. And for those of us that grew up with IVRs, like, how do you test on an IVR? You don't, right? You call in, it gives you your choices, and you don't
reads
have
at a snail's pace out loud.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly right. So that's not how this works at all. Once you really reimagine how you're going to have a customer interact with software, right, you can build in things like Agent Assist and try different things. You can, for instance, start to build in parts that are more automated when you think it's smart to do that. And I think that's the part that's really cool about a journey, is it doesn't mean you have to stay in a channel.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because not all the channels are created equal. Not every journey is created equal. And so the ability to kind of dip in and out of a channel for whatever is right for a customer, I think is also pretty cool.
Well, I mean, the data shows that customers want omni-channel solutions, and they spend more with companies that offer omni-channel communication options.
Yeah. And I think the industry sort of thinks of that as like, you pick a channel on an interaction, which is kind of the reason why I'm back on this connection thing. Like, at least in my buying pattern, there are times where I start online, right, move into chat, ask a question, get an answer, then I want to speak with someone. That should all be connected.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, you know, one of the other parts about this idea of the connection center is that we're also hiding all the systems in the back that we're connecting so the customer doesn't have to see it, but we kind of all know they're there. Right. And I think that's cool too. So we link together these systems in such a way that you get an omni-channel experience, but the omni-channels are blended in the journey.
Right. And I think another thing that's really helpful and accessible about Avaya Infinity is that it's not a rip and replace system, right? When you install Avaya Infinity and make it a part of your business operations, you're not starting from scratch again. It does not disrupt your business operations like a lot of these other competitor solutions might. So I think that's extremely valuable.
Yeah, a lot of it's an interesting characteristic of this industry. A lot of people built very monolithic software. You know, some of that I think goes along with just this trend. People wanted to build multi-tenant SaaS apps.
Right.
But the truth is, for the world's largest companies, those aren't flexible enough. So we think of Infinity as pretty modular. People can start to plug their own components in. Some people will take all the features and functions of the software. Some customers will say, I think I actually want something that's a little bit different than that. So the modular approach is pretty common in other parts of IT. It just wasn't really common here.
Right. And I think also, to your point, I believe that Avaya did a study in a partnership with Forrester, and it found that, I believe the number, check me, is 57% of businesses are using a combination of
Yeah.
CCaaS and then also on-premise models.
Sure.
So how does Avaya Infinity help support those that are looking for a hybrid deployment?
Yeah, well, so crazy statistic. Nobody seems to realize this anymore because of the way that most of the research is done in this space. 25% of the seats in contact center are cloud seats. Only 25%. 75% of the seats in contact center are premise-based software solutions.
In 2025.
That's exactly
You're
right.
right. The research never focuses on
Never
that.
focuses on that. So most people are so heavily biased toward that 25% of the seats, right? When the truth is, there have been plenty of cloud solutions available for some time. If that 25% was going to become 50 or 60% like it has in some other industries, it would have happened by now, right? And so we've seen research out through 2028, the numbers are still the same.
Wow.
And so, I think what you can take away from that is this industry for a long time has had an on-prem footprint. This industry will have for a long time an on-prem footprint. And if you're making solutions for customers in this space, you should just accept that some of them are going to have prem systems, some parts are going to be in cloud systems. You should be flexible enough to do both. And so we built Infinity in a really unique way. You can have it shipped to your premise. It runs on a cloud stack. And then you get a SaaS-like experience. So you don't have to do all those old upgrades and all that stuff that people hated about
forever.
premise software.
Right.
And so I think we kind of like reimagined the way that you could do premise software. The other thing that is a factor for the largest companies in the world, and this is an interesting, kind of an interesting shift. We talked about latency. So if you're making an NVIDIA investment as a company right now, that's not going into the cloud. That's going right into a data center.
Right.
And so some of the biggest customers in the world actually want to get their own AI systems right next to their customer experience systems so that you can train really quickly. You can have a voice experience that has low latency and high quality. So I actually think we're kind of like in this moment where what was old is new again.
I agree.
Right? Like we were on-prem for a long time for a lot of good reasons. One of them was it was hard to do high quality, low latency voice if you weren't on-prem.
Right.
People made a quality trade-off for a while in the cloud. And now we're back to I want high quality, low latency voice interactions because like face it, every interface, every person ships with the same interface. It's our voice.
Right.
Right?
Right. Absolutely.
And that's super cool. So that we thought about that in Infinity, and I think my bet is that'll turn out to be a trend.
I completely agree with what you're saying in terms of everything old being new again, because it's the same for customer experience.
Yeah.
It used to be, we only want to talk to AI agents. We only want 24/7 self-service so that I can reach out and get the help I need on my own schedule. I don't want to wait on hold.
Right.
Now we're seeing a return to people wanting to speak to a live agent. I think it's something like 54% of customers say that their number one concern when they get in touch with the contact center is, I'm not going to be able to reach a live agent when I need to. And I think Avaya has
Right.
hit the nail on the head with making sure that both your virtual agents and your human agents are connected, have access to the same information, are sharing data in real time with each other.
Yeah,
It's important.
It is. And, sometimes the best brands in the world have a really interesting distinguishing factor. The best brands in the world really think about their desired customer and business outcome, and then they back into what that means in
Yes.
terms of delivering a service. The alternative is you kind of have the IT department tell you what you can do.
Yeah.
Right. And, you'd be shocked. Not every IT department necessarily has the best sense of what a customer wants
Right,
from a brand.
exactly.
So it's an interesting fork in the road. Many of our customers, you find you're kind of down this, like they really care to curate for their journey. And that's very, very different from when you deal with a customer that's kind of like IT forward.
Right. So switching gears
Yeah.
a little bit, I know that one of the big promises and the core values of Avaya Infinity is that they want to help customers, let me make sure I get this right, extend the value of their existing infrastructures.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for people that may currently be a Avaya Aura or a Contact Center Elite user?
Yeah. So, if you think about this, so let's go way, way, way back machine. There was once a company called AT&T, right? And out of AT&T spun, Lucent and then Avaya. So there's like this deep history at this company. there's people that are associated with this company that, for all intents and purposes, kind of like founded Voice, right? And and everybody that is kind of in this industry knows, there's people that have been doing Avaya Voice for 20 years.
Decades.
Yeah, decades, right? That's a measure. It's the unit of measure is decades. It's not years.
Right.
Right. So what are you going to do? Walk in and say to a customer, I want you to throw decades of investment away? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And so instead, we think of it as sort of like backward compatibility. We're going to allow us to go back and use infrastructure that's already been built. And then you can move forward at the rate and pace that you want to move forward.
Great.
Yeah, because it's not really practical to say to somebody running a 50,000 person connection center, like, just change it all tomorrow.
Right.
It's just not practical, right?
No, and believe it, they probably are not going to like that idea and not want to do business.
Well, we've done an analysis, and so we went back and we said to customers, what are the real issues in migrating, right? And of the top 5 answers, 3 of the top 5 are related to migration challenges.
Absolutely.
Right? They're too disruptive. They take too long.
Right.
They're really hard on agents. And so, one of the statistics I think is super interesting is, did you know there's about 40,000 new contact center agents getting put in a chair every day?
Wow.
Well, we all know it's a high churn
Of course,
job.
but I didn't know it was that. I mean, that's pretty high.
It's pretty high, right? So you got to think like 40,000 people are sitting in a new chair every day doing connection center work, right? If you're running one of those organizations, you don't want to increase the churn rate necessarily, right? You want to be thoughtful about it. So I just think if you're being practical and you're trying to help an industry who's 75% on-prem
Right.
move forward, you kind of have to meet them where they are.
Exactly.
And then kind of show them the path and let them move a little bit at their own pace.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I think another factor that differentiates Avaya's connection center from a standard contact center is that I think a lot of the contact centers are doing standard personalization, right? Like they're filling in a name on an email or something to that effect. But I feel like from what I've seen from Avaya Infinity, it's more about hyper personalization, again, because that's how you build genuine connections with your customers.
100%.
So I'm just wondering, what does Avaya Infinity offer that empowers agents and maybe even admin to provide a hyper-personalized customer experience, also without getting too creepy, quote unquote? That's a difficult balance to strike.
Yeah, it is. So this is where if you see any of the material or actually you get to see in the logo of the product, we have this infinity loop, right? And for me, it's because there's this kind of continuous thing that happens where you're grabbing information and data, you're feeding it back into the systems that let you rethink the journey, that creates more data and goes. So you get back to these 2 kind of key tenets of the product. We want to capture information about how a journey is working. To be specific, like think of that as we're transcribing calls. Maybe that transcription is getting sent into the data layer so that you can analyze, in a word for word way, right, how that went with a customer, and you can extract from those transcriptions things that make certain agents more or less successful, and then kind of feed that back into your agent assist, right?
Right.
That's one example of how you can do that. And so, to some extent, it's kind of what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Okay.
In our business, the data comes first.
Thank God. Yeah.
Right. So we collect the data, and then, it's super interesting about the point you made is, think about how marginal the line is between feeling connected and creepy.
Right.
Right. So you're right. If you get it wrong, people like yourself might use a word like creepy. We certainly don't want that. So the way you solve that problem is you just let the applications have a really slick orchestration layer. So you feel like it's taking advantage of information to help to make your experience much, much better.
Right.
But not clunky.
And are live sentiment analysis and live intent analysis a part of that?
That's certainly where it's going.
I think so.
So we think of other systems. If you're into AI, you'll hear about things like feature extraction. Feature extraction tends to be like, how can I pull something out of a piece of data, or in our case, a conversation, and then act on it?
Right.
Right. So what you could see happening in the future is you have an agent quality management system. So you understand who your best agents are.
Right.
You have a history of your best agents' performance. You're looking for the distinctions between what your best agents do and what your average agents do. Then your agent assisting those 40,000 people that are brand new in their job with the way the best agents do it. So the first day they hit the chair, they're getting an assist from somebody who's already scoring high in quality management, right? Like that's all software that we should be able to string together. And that's when all of a sudden it's going to feel a lot more like a connection, right?
Absolutely. And I think, too, in this forward-looking sort of conversation that we're having, a lot of CX professionals and connection center professionals as well see voice AI as kind of the next big thing. Do you agree, disagree with that? And does Avaya Infinity have plans to adopt that and put it at the center?
So things I feel really strongly about. We'll back up from strongly held positions, and we'll go back from that.
Okay, perfect.
So I do believe, and I said a few minutes ago, like the interface we all shipped with is voice.
Right.
Maybe we don't know the same languages, but if we can make computer systems interact with human beings just using their voice, that's what we've all always wanted. It just like didn't quite get there before.
Right.
But, with AI, if you can pipe really low latency, really high quality voice into these AI systems and get some feature extraction from them, you could see a world where most of the interactions are voice.
Absolutely.
Right? And, I think the part that you're also asking is like, do I see a world where the interactions are with these virtual agents? The answer is like sometimes.
Of course.
Right? I mean, if they can be really effective, people love them.
It's a use case.
It's a use case. That's exactly right. So, and I think, if you kind of step back and you look at where the industry's going, there's this idea of, without getting too dorky, model context protocol, MCP, right? Which is an open standard that will allow virtual agents to work with one another. That will absolutely happen. And so I guess what I see is you're going to create a journey. Some of it's going to involve virtual agents, digital agents. They're actually going to work with each other in the background. All right. And if that satisfies a customer, that's great. Absolutely. And if in the journey you're like, you know what, this is like one of those times where we're going to, either for sentiment reasons or something else, dip out to a live agent, you have software that's flexible enough to do that too. That's
so important, is that you can meet every customer and meet the needs of them. But also, like, it is such a specific use case by use case basis, and no customer is the same. So you've spoken in other interviews about, and I talked a little bit about this at the beginning, about this idea of, executives and people that adopt AI en masse, it turns out they're not quite seeing the results and the ROI that they thought they would. And I believe the point you make is that that's kind of because, in layman's terms, they're shooting for the moon. They want everything to be automated and look like it's out of, 2001: A Space Odyssey. But the reality is, bring it back down and focus on easy out of the park use cases. So aside 100%. From agent assist, what would you advise that contact centers or connection centers that are struggling with seeing that ROI on AI focus on? Yeah, so I think one way to think about AI is pick something where you have enough data to train it, right? And so this is probably, because we have a little bit more time here, I can be a little more precise. Like, most people's first experience with AI is like ChatGPT. Right? And I think most people kind of start by basically entering the same search they used to enter into Google. Right? I absolutely did. Is that what you did? Yeah. And then you're like, and then you kind of like tease out from there other things, right? If you live with that technology every day, and so I use AI in my personal workflow almost all the time, you start to realize you can work with it differently. Right. But it's still only as good as the data that trained it. And so I think for many of these companies, one distinction that's super interesting is they're going to be training their own models with their data so that it's curated to their customers, right? And so, yes, it's going to take on this format of a large language model, in air quotes. Right.
but it's going to be their large language model. So the place to start is a place where you have enough data to curate a specific experience, right? And start with something straightforward. So we oftentimes in the Experience Center show a cool application where somebody could be coming in for a mortgage, and then they actually say like, hey, but I want to know something about the town where this house is.
Okay.
And what we do in the orchestration is we actually dip out to AI to go pull back information about the town. And so that isn't necessarily something like, picture you call a contact center agent and you're like, hey, tell me about Telluride. Like, what are the chances they're going to know anything about Telluride?
Nothing.
Right?
They're not going to be able to tell you anything. Yeah.
Does the AI know about Telluride? For sure, right? So there's these simple things that you can build in, and it goes back to personalization. Like, can you imagine if while you're applying for a mortgage and you're thinking about a home, it's a big purchase,
right?
And you want to say like, what's the best school system in the zip code? You wouldn't expect that from a bank. You can absolutely build that into a workflow. You could do that today. So there's really easy, like little practical things that you can build in to start. I don't think you have to go for the big bang.
Absolutely. And industry, specific solutions as well are so popular, and it's a great way to use AI. And then the next question is, I think it was the same Forrester study that you did that Avaya partnered with them on. It found that the top 3 things that are important to your customers when they're looking for a technology partner is help with compliance and regulations, security, making sure that customers' data is not, stolen, and of course, company data remains protected, and then this open AI that can integrate with other systems. So how does Avaya Infinity serve those 3 needs, particularly on the security front? Because I know that's a huge concern for customers today as well.
So I've been fortunate enough to lead a few cybersecurity companies. It's a passion of mine too. And so we sort of approached Infinity from the perspective of security has to be built in.
Right.
It shouldn't be, like, quite honestly, we shouldn't have to market that the software is secure. Like, you should expect that. And you should expect people that are, given a position in an organization like we are to like take it really seriously.
Right.
The other reality is, the world's largest organizations, whether we like this or not, the world's been pretty uncertain lately. I don't know if you've noticed.
Absolutely.
And so, there's this idea of sovereignty, and I think it extends to 2 places. There are places in the world where customers want to know expressly where the data is. Like they actually do want to physically be able to look at a thing and say, that's where my data is.
Yes.
Right. And by the way, that might vary for the world's largest organizations, like country to country. So you could do one of a couple of things if you're Avaya. You could say, hey, we're going to try to come up with a one-size-fits-all model, which would imply that we're arrogant enough to think that we understand data compliance and regulatory environments all around the world and that we could normalize them into one system.
Which would be great, but I don't think anybody's ready for that yet.
Doesn't feel like a thing we're going to do. Or we can say like, hey, you can take this on-prem and, then you're absolutely going to know where your data is. You can, by the way, put that in a mesh with cloud-based versions of the same Infinity software so that if you're a large global bank, you could take prem solutions where you need to take them to meet the compliance needs, and you can take cloud solutions where those meet the regulatory needs. So it's that flexibility again. To bring these things together in sort of a mesh. We take that super, super seriously. And then, the other thing that we take really seriously that I think goes back to your question, kind of a little bit about the change. So it's great that we all have these large language models and AI systems that are getting built, but like that also means you're going to keep copious amounts of personal information.
Right. And data.
So you're kind of like owe it to your customers to take that really seriously. And that kind of goes back to, again, like the software should ship in a format that lets you make a decision about how you want to protect your customers' information. I think in the future, every brand will have a brand promise that says like privacy and security are important to us.
I certainly hope so. Yeah. But Avaya customers sleep well at night knowing that the CEO has a background in security and privacy. So you're in good hands. My final question, unfortunately, because I know you've got places to be, what looking forward is on the horizon for Avaya, if you can reveal any upcoming features, or maybe if you could have Avaya Infinity do one feature that maybe isn't even in development? What's your dream functionality and feature for Avaya in the future?
So I'll give you 2.
Okay.
How's that?
Nice.
So I do think this MCP interfacing will be a thing. The team and I are pushing really, really hard to announce that we're going to adopt that in some standard way.
Cool.
Which I think it does a lot. I think first of all, it's a statement, would be the first statement from this industry that we're all going to take virtual agents and agentic AI really seriously.
Yes.
To some extent, there's kind of been like two sides to that debate today. There's kind of like the AI people and this contact center people, and
right.
we're like, okay, let's kind of like tear that wall down. I think supporting MCP would be one thing we could do in the short run.
Amazing.
To do that. The super cool thing that I'll get in all sorts of trouble for talking about, but you said Dream, so we'll file this under Dream. Don't file this
Dream.
under. Don't
Not
file this
reality.
Don't file this under Delivery. File this under Dream.
I got you.
We still have this cadre of consulting engineers. They're some of the earliest people that ever worked on voice. And I said we have an awesome CTO, David is like amazing. And we were talking about, the future, and through the lens of many of the questions you asked, I was like, hey, David, like I want to get feature extraction out of like line level voice. I don't want it to have to like go park in a system and transcribe. Like we have a high quality, low latency voice infrastructure that travels across us, and it has for decades. If anybody is going to know how to just literally extract something out of live voice, it would be this company.
Absolutely.
So, he and I have a session set up with some engineers to try to figure out if that's like possible. But that's
the dream.
That would go game changer.
To be continued. So again, dream, not delivery, but you never know what the future holds.
We did okay this last one.
I think y'all did more than okay. Yeah. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Patrick, for taking the time to speak with us today at the CX Foundation. And we're now going to take a brief tour around the Experience Center, the Avaya Experience Center. So don't go anywhere. And we look forward to continuing the relationship and hearing more about what Avaya Infinity has in store.
Well, thanks a lot for coming out today. Thanks for the work you folks have done. You're taking a really, really fresh approach in an industry that needs it, and at a time that's really important. And enjoy the Experience Center while you're here.
I will.
I think we'll have a great
I've already
time.
enjoyed the coffee, so
there we
what
go.
could be better? Perfect.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.